The female carer sent for elderly people away in 3 days. Coincidentally, she was on duty again this night. The old man in the bed had wet his bed and wanted a new sheet. The female carer was not happy about it. To punish the old man, she turned off the oxygen valve. Soon the old man became breathless due to the lack of oxygen, but the woman smiled with satisfaction. Then she picked up the oxygen tube. She pinched it with 2 fingers. The lack of oxygen makes the old man tremble, but the woman still didn't let go, as if her happiness was based on the pain of others. Soon the old man fainted completely due to the lack of oxygen. The woman didn't panic at all. She quietly checked the old man's pulse with her hand. After confirming that there was no heartbeat, the woman was satisfied and left. But when she walked out the door, she changed her face. She shouted that the patient had an accident. Doctors and nurses rushed into the ward. All of them started to give first aid to the patient. Perhaps even the doctor did not realize that the murderer was right next to him, quietly watching the scene. With oxygen, the old man woke up. The female carer's expression is becoming more and more hideous. Her name is Gina. She's a temporary employee at the hospital, and the case was dropped because the old man was suffering from dementia. Afterwards, she quit her job. She was going to become a nanny to kill others. Gina then applied for a new job with a harmless face, but the owner of the house made her jealous again. Looking at his handsome face, Gina vowed to be his woman. That day, the hostess, Jenny's best friend, came to see her. She saw Gina going out with her son. She reminded her to check the identity of the nanny. If Gina doesn't do a good job, she can help her find a new one. Unbeknownst to her, Gina had secretly overheard this conversation. In order to dispel everyone's suspicions, she secretly tinkered with the crutches. Soon after, her son screamed from outside the house. When the mother and her girlfriends arrived, they saw Gina taking good care of her son. This action completely put Jenny's guard down. Jenny suffered from headaches at work. Her illness gave Gina an opportunity to take advantage of her. The next day, she cooked a tonic soup for Jenny, and it was supposed to help her sleep. The heroine didn't suspect a thing, so she took it. Under the effect of the drug, Jenny soon fell into a deep sleep. This drug was specially prepared by Gina. If you take it for a long time, you're bound to get a bad taste in your mouth and eyes. At that moment, a doctor knocked on the door. Gina suddenly recognized her as the doctor who had saved the old man's life at the hospital. Luckily, the doctor didn't remember her. She was here to give her youngest son new crutches. But Gina dismissed the doctor on the pretext that Jenny was taking a nap. But out of responsibility, she stressed that she would come back tonight. At this point, Gina was completely determined to kill. She wouldn't let anyone know who she was. At night, Gina found the doctor in advance. Then she stabbed him when he was not ready. It's only now that the doctor remembers who Gina is. But it's too late now. Gina then injected him with a large amount of drugs to make it look like an overdose caused his death. To speed things up, Gina used a voice changer to talk to Jenny as a man. Said she had a son with a crippled leg. Luckily, she had a trusted nanny at home, and her son was getting better. Jenny couldn't help but think of Gina. She trusted her even more. But when she got off the phone, Gina told her husband about Jenny's affair with her online friend. The man doesn't think so. He believed that his wife was not that kind of person. As a result of taking the tonic soup for a long time, Jenny gradually lost her composure. By the time she woke up to make breakfast, Gina had already taken care of everything. Her son trusted Gina even more. She looked like a real lady of the house. At that moment, Jenny had no idea what was wrong with her. She just felt like she'd had 2 days of endless sleep. It was only when her best friend came to visit that the truth began to emerge. During dinner, her best friend spilled some juice on the host's clothes. Gina immediately told him to take it off. She went to the bathroom to take care of it herself. At that moment, her best friend suddenly needed to go to the toilet. But when she came to the bathroom, she found this scene. The nanny greedily sniffed the man's coat. This scene happened to be witnessed by the girlfriends who were guests at home. On this day, the family was out of town. My best friend meets the nanny Gina and warns her to quit and leave immediately. Gina is still playing dumb. The conversation between the 2 women was explosive.
I saw you sniffing Todd's shirt in the laundry room. Now I don't want to have to tell Mira.
She told Gina to leave if she knew what she was doing. She'll let it go. These words completely enraged Gina, a crazy woman. She picked up a vase and hit her best friend. I'll let you get away with it.
Thanks for the warning.
Gina can't wait to become the head of the family. She continued to make Jenny insist on drinking soup while asking her out as an online friend. She wants to talk to her about her son's condition. Jenny didn't know whether to go or not. Gina raised her voice and told her to go. Naturally, she wanted the host to hear her. The next day, Gina came to the cafe. Gina met her so-called online friend as promised. When her wife and her online friend walked out of the cafe, the husband next to her was furious. It was obvious that Gina had arranged all this, but the husband didn't know. That night, the husband came home drunk. Gina was sleeping after drinking a tonic soup. Gina didn't want to miss this opportunity. She slowly led her husband back to the bedroom. Just as she was about to make her move, the man pushed her away, although he saw his wife with someone else during the day. But in his heart, he loved him. That night, Gina lost her virginity again, and that made her want to kill Jenny. so she decided to bring forward all her plans. She found her online friend and killed him. Then she took Gina's blood and spilled it on the body to frame her. When she got home, she told her husband that he was drunk and wanted her, and reassured him that he would never tell Gina. Man, this guy's a bit of a scumbag, isn't he? The owner is dumbfounded and apologizes. Gina said she wished it was true. The husband was confused. He had to go and clear his head. When Gina woke up, she was alone. On the table was the tonic soup she'd prepared for her. Gina's note on the cup. Jenny had a vague feeling that it wasn't that simple. Ever since she drank it, she'd been sleepy and mentally ill. She decided to pour it out and find out what was in it. At the sink, the heroine opened the lid and smelled it, but found nothing unusual. But when she poured it out, she found a horrible scene. The woman found the dregs of the medicine left in the cup, and this kind of tonic soup she has been drinking for 3 months. Thinking back to the time when she drank the tonic soup prepared by the nanny, she became sleepy and in a trance. There's no doubt that once the heroine is dead, Gina will be able to rightfully take over her position as mistress. Jenny couldn't bear to think about it any further. She snuck into Gina's room to check her suspicions, and it was just as she suspected. The room was filled with soup recipes. There were books detailing the dangers of tonic soups, and Jenny found a large amount of illegal drugs under the bed. Suddenly, Gina returned with her car. At the sound of her voice, Jenny rushed to restore the scene to its original state. Then she went back to the living room to calm down. She opened the door for her son and Gina. Gina was surprised to see Jenny still awake. The heroine should have slept through the tonic soup until tomorrow. Gina couldn't help but wonder what she had discovered. In order to test Jenny, Gina made a new cup of tonic soup. At this time, her son also came forward to talk about school. For the sake of her son's safety, the heroine could only pick up the cup and drink it. Gina was finally relieved. Then she took her son to the rehabilitation center. As soon as they left, Jenny came back to the room again. She recorded Gina's poisoning on her mobile phone. Then she called her husband to tell him about it and agreed to go to the police immediately. Coincidentally, Gina returned. Jenny hurriedly hung up and greeted her. In response to Gina's question, Jenny said she had to go out to buy something. Gina thinks that the heroine is very weak and should stay and rest. Suddenly Jenny saw a little blood on Gina's face. This makes her nervous about her son's safety. Realizing the problem, Gina wipes it off in a hurry. She explains that it's just tomato juice. Gina knows that she's been compromised. She threatened the heroine that her youngest son was in her custody. If you want to see him, do as you're told. In the end, Jenny had no choice but to get into a stolen car. The car drove away from the city to a remote town. By the time the husband returned home, his wife was long gone. The only thing left at the scene was his wife's mobile phone. Inside was evidence of Gina's crime, which the woman had just recorded. That's when the husband realized Gina's true nature. On the other hand, Gina took Jenny to the countryside. She told the heroine her son was inside, but when Gina came in, she realized there was no one there. It turns out her son is safe in the rehab center. She's doing this so she can take out Jenny quietly and replace her. Of course, Gina had another agenda, because the body of her online friend is also here, so that if she kills Gina, she can fake a suicide scene. As soon as she said that, the two women fought together. At that moment, the heroine exerted all her strength to resist, but she was still pressed by Gina and rubbed like crazy. At this critical moment, Jenny grabbed a teapot and knocked Gina out. At the end of the film, the heroine successfully saved herself. Gina will be punished by the law. Since then, the family has returned to a peaceful and happy life.